Good morning, it's Yvonne here from the Aussie Goddess to do the weekly reading for the lovely sign of Pisces. Now Pisces, this can be for your sun, your moon, your rising or ascendant and or your Venus. So make sure you look up your natal chart to find out what aspect of your birth chart will have influenced you in this day and time. Before we go any further, a huge thank you to you for subscribing to my channel. It's beautiful to have you on board. If you're new here, welcome. And if you've been supporting me the whole time, thank you so much for your love and support. Okay, if you are interested in a personal reading with me, doing life coaching or joining me for classes, I have one position left in my tarot class. Then you are welcome to look underneath or whip over to the Aussie Goddess Facebook page where you can like my page and find out where I'm up to and what I'm doing. If this reading doesn't resonate with you, make sure, as I said, you check out other aspects of your natal chart. However, if it does resonate with you, I ask that you give it a thumbs up so you can help me grow the channel. We're going to use the Tarot Moocher for your reading. Spirit says they're not shuffled enough, so I'm going to go back in and do another shuffle. Sometimes that happens when the pack doesn't split properly. All right, there we go, beautiful. Okay, somebody said to me once, how do I know? So when I feel that the pack is comfortable, I just let it just fall where it falls. So when I let the pack go, it just splits or divides where it needs to go. But sometimes it might divide in 3 or 4 places, in which case I feel like Spirit is saying to me, it's not quite ready, you need to go back and shuffle some more. So we have the lovely card here of Temperance coming through. Temperance talks about having everything in our life in balance, coming to a point in our life where everything is sitting where it needs to be. Now, the deeper meaning of that is once you've got everything in balance, mind, body, soul, emotions, intellect, whatever it is for you, once you've got everything into balance, you vibrate differently because you're very happy, very content. You know, you're feeling really comfortable in your own skin. It means that everything in your life is vibing in a way that helps you to move to the next vibration or the best vibration for you. When you're in the high vibration, it means you're in the place for divine timing. So if you're waiting for something to come through, this is why Spirit always asks you to self-invest. Because if you're investing in yourself, you have the best chance of raising your vibration and therefore bringing in divine timing. So this is very much about you focusing on yourself, bringing in the things you need to bring in, doing the things you need to do, and loving yourself here to bring yourself into the vibration. Okay, so as I always say to people, it seems to me when I come through some sort of enlightenment, some sort of stage of my awakening, there's always this next stage coming through for me because it's like peeling an onion for me. It's very much about, you know, perhaps having a stage of awakening, but it's a constant thing. The Death card talks about letting parts of ourselves go. We have both major arcanas here. So sometimes it's about understanding that there are parts of ourselves that aren't really serving us anymore. And it's time to let them go to bring yourself into balance here. This is the card of Scorpio. This is the card of Aquarius. Sagittarius. So there's something here you need to let go to bring yourself into balance. Now, with the Eight of Wands here, I feel like there's something either that you don't know about yourself, that you're doing a certain way that you are unaware of, so therefore unable to release. Or there's a part of yourself that you feel really comfortable with and you are scared to release. So for example, we'll take something like an addiction. If you're not bringing yourself into balance because you're feeling overwhelmed by some sort of addiction, let's face it, if you have an addiction, you're not always enjoying what you're doing. You do go through backwards and forwards. You know, is this good for me? Should I give it away? How do I give it away? What do I do next? Who do I look for? That's what you do, right? So what happens is you become exhausted by that. But it's really hard to recognize or come to some sort of realization that what you've got or what you're doing is not right for you. Now, sometimes this can be a way of doing things. It might be that you've always served others, that you're a people pleaser, and you know that that doesn't always bode well for you. But actually, it makes you feel somewhat comfortable because then you don't have to deal with conflict or people's unhappiness. So you may serve others for your own benefit. A lot of this sort of energy coming up in the cards this morning. So sometimes what we do is we keep ourselves trapped in our own heads going, I should do this, I should move on, I should address this, but you don't actually do anything. So you end up doing these in your head. And I always say it's like the freight train going around in your head, just giving you these messages over and over. This is the Eight of Swords energy. There is a need for you here to see things from a different perspective. And maybe the perspective is, what am I doing? What am I doing that I need to let go of to bring balance to myself? And how can I look at this from a different perspective to see how to do that? Sometimes we get ourselves stuck in this Hanged Man energy. A lot of major arcanas coming out for you here, Pisces, because there are 3 major arcanas in 4 cards here. So this is going to be a very potent week for you this week. This week is going to teach you how to release something. And it could be because somebody helps you. It could be somebody says something to you, but there is some realization coming through here where you have an enlightenment, an awakening, some sort of realization that how to do this, how to do it differently. But it's definitely helping you move forward here. Okay, and there you go. Now, this may be a slow process. It may be something that takes a little bit of time. You may have to have a strategy for how to move forward. But there's something that you are doing, seeing, or being on a day-to-day basis that is not serving your greater purpose. Maybe it is an addiction. Maybe it's a way of thinking. Maybe it's a way of doing things. It was really interesting because I was watching something on television the other day, and somebody said, for those in Australia, I don't know if you have it overseas on maths. I love watching maths. That's the psychologist in me. But this person said, this woman's really perfect, but she has green eyes. And they said, what do you mean? Well, my perfect woman has blue eyes. So this person was knocking back love and knocking back people who were really, really good for them because their eyes weren't the right colour. That's the sort of fixated thinking some people have that doesn't serve them. You could have the most perfect person standing in front of you, but if they don't have the right coloured eyes, then you're not going to accept them because their eyes aren't right. That is outmoded thinking. It just doesn't serve you in any way, shape or form. We could say it was shallow, but it isn't really, because that goes very deep with you if you're not understanding that is limiting you to something incredibly special. So that's the sort of thinking that has to be let go of. I know that that's a very simple analogy, but it might help you to understand. Okay, so whatever this thing is, the Six of Cups is coming up here. So it's something that you've been seeing a certain way since you were young. When the Six of Cups comes in, it talks about childhood, remembering, reminiscing, going back. For me, this is something you learn to do as a child that you need to let go of. So it may be a certain way of thinking. It may be a certain way of behaving. If it's an addiction like codependency, you maybe have been taught that in early childhood. So it may be something that you think is a normal thing to do. But you always have to question, why do I do things this way? And what is the alternative? Is it really serving me? That is the soul-seeking answers you need to ask yourself. Because sometimes we do get stuck in a certain way of doing things, and it may not be really serving us. Okay. All right, now we've gone too bright. Sorry about that. I have the King of Cups coming through here. This may be to do with the way you love people here. We have the Judgment card coming through. All right, with the Eight of Pentacles here. For some of you, this has to do with investing too much at work. It's this whole idea that you have to always put in more than your 100%. And it may be in some way, shape or form affecting you on greater levels, like you may find that your home life is being eaten into, or you don't have as much relaxing time. But maybe you were taught as a child that you have to stay in the same job forever and ever, amen. And the universe is trying to show you it's okay if you're not enjoying your job, if you're not liking your job, it's okay to move on. You don't have to stay there because your parents taught you that you have to stay in this job for the rest of your life. There is also this feeling here that something is coming back around here, something from your past that is going to make you see things in a very different way. There is some sort of rebirth coming as a result of somebody returning here. So there's some sort of information coming through to you here which is going to help you review the way you saw things. So maybe somebody is returning from your past. It could be a family member, a friend, somebody that you've had some sort of dealings with in the past. It could be a romantic interest, someone from childhood, somebody that you've known in the past. I remember seeing something the other day where somebody said when I was a child this was the type of person I was, and then I met someone as an adult and they said, really, you're just nothing like you were when you were a child. And this person said, why? And they said, because when you were a child you were so rough and ready, you'd do anything, you took risks, you were out there doing really dangerous things, and maybe that's a sort of learning that we have to do, to not do things so dangerously. But then what happens, we become so overprotective, we're scared of doing anything in fear of hurting ourselves. And there's a balance that needs to be made there in this sort of energy of the temperance, where we have to understand that there is a balance. So you may have overcompensated here for something. For others of you, you may have somebody coming back from the past here who may not be the person you thought they were in the past. So you may have changed quite substantially, and whoever this person is may be presenting very differently to what you remember them. And surely you can remember that too. I always talk about my great aunt and uncle's backyard, because I used to get so scared when I was in that backyard because I couldn't see over the walls, and that frightened me, not being able to see what was on the other side. And years later when I returned, those walls were only knee high, maybe a little bit bigger than that. But it just shows how your ideas change, because I could see for miles once I was an adult, but as a child I couldn't see over the top. And that stuck with me and it frightened me. And really and truly it would have been nice if somebody said, you know, maybe I could lift you up and you could have a look. But nobody ever said that to me. So I grew in fear of not being able to see beyond the walls. And I had dreams of that as well. So there is this idea of perspective here. And you may have had some sort of perspective as a child that does not serve you any longer. But let's have a little bit more. So we have the Wheel of Fortune coming through. Wow, okay, with the Two of Cups and the Seven of Wands. I feel like you fought for something for a really long time and you're about to get a little bit of a shock, because what you fought for was not what you thought something was. And there is this energy here from a child. Maybe you have been taught to always fight for things and it's not necessary to fight. But there's very much this energy that something is returning here to change your mind about it. You're going to see it for what it actually is and not what you left behind. All right, so we have the Seven of Swords. Maybe you're dealing with someone. Oops, we have the Empress coming through. Maybe you're dealing with someone who wasn't actually showing you their true colours. I do think you've got a happy ending here, though. Whoever this person is that's coming back in here is going to show you a very different way of being. And I feel like this has an impact on who you are as a person. And maybe it's because you see this person in a completely different light, but you are walking out as the Empress with this stability here. This person is a soulmate or has a close soul connection to you. So I feel like they're here to teach you something about yourself. But the universe here is saying there is some sort of karmic energy about to close here. I can see what it is. I'll try and explain it a little bit further. All right, so we have the Temperance card being followed by the Death card, followed by the Eight of Swords, followed by the Hanged Man, and then the Knight of Pentacles, implying somebody is coming in very, very slowly here to make some sort of offer. They may have taken their time, but they are finally moving towards you here. I feel very strongly here that since that person's been gone, you may have done this very childlike thing and built this thing up in your mind to be something more incredible than it actually is. And I feel like when this person presents themselves, you may see a healthy, normal human being where you may have glamorized the energy to the point where you believe this person was some sort of demigod or superstar. And I feel like this is going to bring you down to earth greatly, and you're going to understand how you embellish or over-exaggerate things and only see the good in people. So you may be a person who puts people on pedestals, but this person's going to bring you back down to earth in a very big way here, and it is their job to do that. There is some sort of karmic cycle that is closing out here, that is showing you that the way you think isn't actually the way things are. All right, let's have a look what's coming out. Two of Swords, and then there's some sort of decision here that needs to be made with the Sun coming through. And we have the Knight of Swords. Yeah, okay, they're coming in with the truth. Two of Pentacles. There seems to be some sort of decision here, some sort of balance on how you move forward. Okay, Five of Cups. There is some sort of disappointment here. Okay, let's dig a little bit deeper. I feel like whoever this person is coming in to teach you something about yourself that you've done a certain way for a long time that is not serving you. I feel it's something to do with you glamorizing or putting people on pedestals and not realizing that everybody's human. So you have this idea of somebody perhaps rescuing you. Maybe that is what you've been looking for. And this person is showing up as just a normal, ordinary person. There is something here that is being hidden from you at this time, because it's about you understanding that this lesson is around looking back at the past and perhaps glamorizing or feeling that something has to be a certain way in your past. Because there's a rebirth here, and this is coming from the universe. The universe is helping you to see something in a very different way. Out of this will come stability, because you're moving into your Empress energy here. So you will get a lot of stability from this situation, but it's like helping you to realize perhaps you've been living in an illusion for a very long time. Okie dokie. The Phoenix. Okay, that makes a whole lot of sense to me. Card 29. That's rebirth there as well. So there's some sort of rebirth coming for you here. Resurrection and surrendering to change. The Phoenix appears as your ally to celebrate your journey and to ensure your ultimate success. This is true even if it appears that you've just passed through a metaphorical experience of death. Oh, that's why we've got the Death card. Or you are currently enduring a perception of failure in your life. Death and rebirth are related when you enter the realm of the Phoenix. Seen in this light, nothing truly dies, but rather changes from one ending directly into new beginnings. The Phoenix is constantly reinventing itself and rises up whole and new, even more powerful with every death it experiences. This could signal the end of a relationship or a dynamic within one, or the end of a job, a project, or even a life. Perhaps no failure is involved, but it's time for a complete overhaul of your circumstances. You may be tired of what you're doing, or you may know instinctively that it's time to move on and try something new. Whatever the case, the death of the old and a celebration of new life are called for. Whatever you do now will be indeed a successful endeavour, for a rebirth is imminent. I feel like it's helping you see through some sort of illusion here. Some sort of idea, way of doing, way of being that you have adopted as being real life, and you're about to be shown this isn't how things are. It's got a great outcome though here. So I feel like whatever it is, you're moving into a new, stable, content sense of yourself. It's like you're letting go of something that you've always put pressure on yourself about. So maybe it's something to do with being abandoned by this person. Maybe it's something to do with attachment, codependency. But it may be very likely that you see this person as your savior, as your knight on a white horse. And perhaps you're starting to realize now that you've glamorized somebody and that's not who they are. Maybe you thought you didn't deserve them. Maybe that's enough to bring you round. I'll leave you with that. Thanks.